an official meeting of the Chamber. So if I could have our acting president, Joe Mahoney, bang the gavel one more time and call it to order.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me? All right, I can get louder, Sue.
Okay, go ahead.
So before we get started, whether you agreed with his policies or not, I think it would be only right just to spare a brief thought for the late George H.W. Bush, our 41st president, who's being laid to rest today. The eulogies will be all over the TV. But whatever you thought of his policies, he was an honorable man, a war veteran, and had a lot of class. So with that said, good afternoon. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today. We're going to wrap up another busy chamber year, and I always like this event because, number one, we have a pretty good turnout because folks like you say, you know what, I can sneak out of the office for an hour, hour and a half, and socialize with some people before you delve into producing your annual reports or getting swept up in your own personal holiday planning. So thank you all for coming. We'd especially like to welcome some of our new members. Juban Taborda is here. Where's Juban? Juban's company is Business Fitness Digital Marketing. If you fear that you don't have a significant exposure through digital media, please get in touch with Juban. Is Carlos or Fernando Camacho here? I didn't think I saw them. So Cafe El Dorado, if you remember, El Dorado Bakery burned down a couple of years ago. Hopefully that's going to be reopening this spring. Carlos has great foresight and has already joined the chamber even before the doors open, so thank him for that. And lastly, Rob Lynch from Lynch Legal, right here. Rob's an attorney with an office downtown on Canal Street, but he also does a lot of work out of Chelsea. So thank you so much to the new members for coming. We have some prospective new members in the room as well. If you're not sure whether you're a prospective new member of the Chelsea Chamber, if you're in this room and you're not yet a member of the Chelsea Chamber, congratulations, you're a prospective member of the Chelsea Chamber. Through our website, you can join online in the middle of the night in your fuzzy slippers, the way that some people did when they registered for this event, because I saw some of the registrations come in with their timestamps of 11:37 p.m. and 12:58 a.m. From City Hall, we'd like to welcome our city manager, Thomas Ambasino. City Councilor Leo Robinson. And from the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, Juan Vega, the Assistant Secretary for Communities and Programs. And finally, we're very grateful to our sponsors for this event, the leaders of the Commonwealth Corporation and the Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation. You're going to be hearing from them on our panel today. They helped sponsor this event. But also our new member, Expert Staffing, is also a sponsor of this event. And I'd like to invite Rita Rosado, their VP for Strategic Solutions, to the podium or the microphone if you prefer. For a couple of minutes and introduce your company and tell everybody what you do and where you are.
Good afternoon. Hopefully everyone can hear me. We are headquartered in Worcester, Massachusetts. We have been in Chelsea now for approximately 6 weeks. Ready to be part of the chamber and also to be part of the community. With us we have Josefina Diaz, who is the Career and Foods Division Manager. We have Mike Doherty, who is the Business Development Manager, and Jason Russell, who is the Director of our Specialties Division. We are a full-service staffing agency, or as I say, a solution-based company, because that's what we enjoy to do, is to provide solutions to companies. We enjoy putting our community back to work and assisting you with hopefully alleviating your job and getting the right candidates for you. Again, we have been in Worcester for many years, combined experience of over 20 years in the Worcester area. We are regional, and we've been expanding. We are in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, and we also service some accounts in Vermont. And we have provided you with some brochures on our table, or on your table, I should say, also on our business cards. So if you have any questions or would like to speak to us further, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we are more than happy to speak to you. And thank you for welcoming us into the community. We're very happy to be here.
So before we get to our speakers this afternoon, we've got some quick but very important chamber business to take care of. So can I ask Vice President Joe Bernard to join us up here for the election of our directors for the next term. So if you want the mic?
No, I think I can carry it.
I think so.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the chamber. Thank you very much for being here. Welcome to our new members and our prospective members. So my job today is to present to you a proposed slate of directors for the year ending 2020. By the bylaws, the nominating committee has nominated these directors and the board has accepted them. It's now up to the membership to vote. So I'm going to read the names, and then after I'm finished, I'm going to ask for a vote. We also at this time will take nominations from the floor if anybody so desires to become a member of the chamber and board of directors. So we have Alan Alpert, retired from Chelsea Emergency Management, D. Bruce Mock, Chelsea Clock, Dennis Cataldo from Cataldo Ambulance Service, Alice Murillo from Bunker Hill Community College, Jeanette Williams, Mass General Hospital, Chelsea Healthcare Center, Guillermo Fernandez from Stop and Compare Markets, Robert Alcanada from Shore Educational Collaborative, David Mindlin, Crafton Hall Law Offices, and Maureen Foley from Colwyn Hotels. Do I hear a motion? Take a motion. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any nominations to the floor? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Speak now. All right, if I could ask those members who are present to please stand in their spot, and we're going to swear you in right now so you can't get away. So I know Alan's here, I know Bruce is here, Guillermo's here, Bob, Dave, Alice, Dennis, although some of us didn't recognize him, we have a presentation to make to him later, so we'll take care of that outside of this. So if you raise your right hand and repeat after me, I, and just plug in your name, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the bylaws and rules of the Chelsea Chamber of Commerce in my position as Board of Director. And during my term, I will faithfully and impartially discharge the responsibilities of the office to the best of my ability. Pretty good. Congratulations to all of you.
That was an impressive level of excitement. Now the new officers for the chamber will not be sworn in today. They'll be sworn in at our installation of officers event in March. But past President Dennis Cataldo is going to lead the election for those officers. You got it?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Rich, and good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here to present to you the slate of officers as nominated by the nominating committee and approved by the President and Board of Directors. When I call your name and position, if you could please stand, that would be much appreciated. For President, Joseph W. Mahoney, 1-800-GETS-JOE. For Executive Vice President, Alberto Calvo, Stop and Compare Supermarkets. For Vice President, Susan Gallant, Susan E. Gallant, CPA. And Joseph M. Bernard, Chelsea Bank, a division of East Cambridge Savings Bank, which we just heard from. For treasurer, Effie Amarillo from Broadway Jewelers, who's standing way in the back. Thank you for checking everybody. And for secretary, Arthur Arsenault, for Arsenault and Klein, CPA. Thank you very much. I need a motion from the floor to approve the slate as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations.
All right, right along. So the idea behind today's luncheon was really trying to put together a basket of resources and get them in front of you as you. Yes, sir.
Close it.
Oh,
The meeting.
no, this is the whole meeting.
The business portion of the meeting. Yeah, close the meeting. These are all the speakers.
Okay. Joe, do we have a motion to close the meeting? I thought the meeting closed at the end. My bad. I can't make
Second.
All in favor? Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting closed. You know, I think Arthur just didn't want to take notes all the way through.
That's exactly
So I think a common challenge for any business, even for nonprofits, is that it's hard to work on your business when you're spending every waking moment of your day working in your business. So I can send out emails all day long and saying, hey, here are some great resources for you. And then you know what happens to emails, they just kind of scroll on down in the email box. So I thought if we get some people here in front of you, while we're all here socializing and having a nice holiday lunch, maybe somebody's going to say, you know what, I think I want to call MGCC or Commonwealth Corporation and learn more about what I heard about at today's event. So we've got 3 excellent resources for you today. And gentlemen, if you want to move to the panel, and if someone can figure out how to turn on the microphone over there, I'm going to read their bios and introduce them. So JD, Ken, Larry, thank you. So first up, we have Dr. JD Larac. JD is president and CEO of the Commonwealth Corporation. It's the public-private corporation for Massachusetts dedicated to workforce development, youth development, and economic development. A $55 million organization with employees across the state, Commonwealth Corporation works to advance economic leadership in Massachusetts through signature partnerships with employers, employees, educational institutions, and community-based organizations. And I think that covers just about everybody in this room. JD is also a member of the Massachusetts Board of Higher Education, chair of the Board of Trustees at North Shore Community College. He holds 3 degrees from Harvard, including a doctorate in education administration, policy, and social planning, a law degree from Georgetown, and apparently somehow in his spare time, JD is a faculty member in Northeastern University's Doctor of Law and Policy program. Next in, we have Larry Andrews, Lawrence D. Andrews. He's president of the Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation. The mission of the MGCC is to create and preserve jobs at small businesses, women, minority, veteran-owned businesses, and to promote economic development in underserved gateway municipalities and low and moderate income communities. So Larry, welcome to your target market. The MGCC provides a centralized resource at the state level that offers working capital, loan guarantees, and targeted technical assistance to solve specific financial and operational problems. By working with traditional financial institutions to make unbankable loans bankable, by working with community development corporations and other nonprofits to provide financing for job-producing projects, and by assisting a wide range of small businesses to find the growth capital they require, MGCC works to empower small businesses and create economic opportunities for all. Larry holds a BA from Gordon College and an MBA from Bentley University, and he's been president of the MGCC since 2014. And we have Ken Good. Ken Good is the Senior Vice President for Business Development for Mass Development. Ken joined Mass Development in 1996 as a project manager in the greater Boston region. In 1998, his duties were expanded to include the Northeast region as the Senior Business Development Manager, and in 2004 as Vice President of Business Development for Boston and Northeastern Massachusetts. Today, Ken retains his regional marketing responsibilities while overseeing the statewide business development activities for the agency from his office in Lawrence, Mass. Prior to joining Mass Development, Ken was the Government and Community Affairs Director for the Purity Supreme, Heartland, and Angelo's supermarket companies based in Billerica. He's a Cambridge native, born and raised, and he currently resides in Arlington. And I just wanted to add that if anybody picked up on the fact that Mass Development is not a direct sponsor of this event, we are getting money out of them. You know you can. I'll get it one way or another. Mass Development has been a member of the Chamber for the past 2 years, and Mass Development is also paying the salary for Carlos Matos, who is our Transformative Development Initiative Fellow. Carlos. So Mass Development pays Carlos a salary to work here in Chelsea on economic development in Chelsea's downtown for the next 2 years. And in return, Carlos sometimes buys me lunch. So it's all good. So ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome our guests.
Is this working?
Yes.
It is? Okay. I'm going to stand just so I can see everyone and everyone can see me. Good afternoon. Thank you so much to the Chamber. Buenas tardes. Gracias por la oportunidad de hablar con ustedes.
Wow, muy bien.
That's all. Maybe a little more. But thank you very much for the kind invitation. I will try to be brief, and if you remember just one thing from my talk today, it is this. Commonwealth Corporation every year has $20+ million available to Massachusetts businesses so that you can upskill your employees and expand your businesses and work for the common good of your communities. And I'd like to spend just a few minutes today talking about some of the signature programs that are relevant to all of you and describe some examples of the types of businesses we work with and how Commonwealth Corporation assists businesses like yours. So one of the key programs we run is called the Workforce Training Fund, and I imagine that a number of you have heard about it, and maybe some of you have even applied for it. It helps Massachusetts businesses become more competitive by investing in the skills of their workers. If you are a for-profit business, if you have W-2 employees, if you pay into the unemployment insurance system, you are most likely eligible to apply for the Workforce Training Fund. We administer this fund on behalf of the State Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development and Secretary Rosalind Acosta, and it's proven to be one of our state's most powerful catalysts for job creation. Companies in Massachusetts that receive Workforce Training Fund grants in 2018 added jobs at a rate of 11.9%. That's 3 times the rate of growth for the state altogether. So it's a powerful catalyst for the expansion of your businesses and for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And it's a win-win-win scenario. It's a win for businesses because it provides resources to conduct customized training to their workforces in order to improve business practices. It's a win for workers who are gaining valuable skills, which open up additional career ladders for them and increase their earnings. And it's a win for our state because it helps us all to maintain a highly skilled workforce. We have 3 programs from which you can choose. Some larger in duration and quantity, some shorter, some free. And I would just like to walk through them so you can see what might be relevant to your businesses. The first of our programs is called the Express Program within the Workforce Training Fund. And this makes it easy for small businesses to access funding to help pay for training. We, Commonwealth Corporation, pay for half the training, and the employer pays for the other half. And some popular topics that businesses often utilize this fund for include customer service, computer training, human resources, and more. For example, perhaps you have someone on your staff who wants to train in QuickBooks. That's the type of training that the Express program can provide. We also offer free training to small businesses through the Small Business Direct Access program. And this includes training on some of the most on-demand topics. 25 training providers across the state have been awarded grants so that small businesses can access training at no charge. So for example, maybe you have someone on your staff who has a lot of experience with the company, but they've never really learned how to manage people. You can enroll them in a free management training course to help them be successful and to help them in their careers and to help your company. Or perhaps you have employees with limited English proficiency. With Small Business Direct Access, you can send employees to attend free ESOL training. And there are 2 providers to choose from. The third program within the Workforce Training Fund that we have is the largest, and it's called the General Program. And with the General Program, you can apply for a grant of up to $250,000 to put together a customized training program to address a central business need. And let me talk about one example from the General Program right here in Chelsea. We funded a Workforce Training Fund grant for Signature Breads, which is here in the city and has 165 employees. Now they are an employee-owned business that specializes in making breads for supermarkets and restaurants. They distribute to customers in all 50 states. They compete with much larger companies, so they needed to improve their productivity while ensuring the best quality product. They also needed to improve their employees' workplace English skills. So they were awarded a $137,000 grant from Commonwealth Corporation through the Workforce Training Fund to train employees in process improvement, baking science, and ESOL. And this training is helping them decrease waste, improve quality, and improve customer satisfaction, and of course, improve communication between employees and between employees and customers. They expect to add 10 jobs by the end of the grant in 2020. And that is just one example of the type of training that we provide. Training for the types of things that come up in your businesses all the time. Training that reflects the ways in which our Commonwealth's workforce is changing and evolving, getting more diverse, and we want to help you. We want to help you roll with those changes, go deep with your employees, make your businesses even more sustainable, expand them, because ultimately, when you do that, when we work together, it helps all of us. I'll touch very briefly on some youth-serving programs that we have as well that may be relevant. So we do a lot in Chelsea with our youth. So at Commonwealth Corporation, we basically have programs that serve businesses and adult workers, and then we have a whole host of programs that are about youth development to train the future workforce of the Commonwealth. So Chelsea is one of 31 cities and towns that participates and receives funding to implement YouthWorks, which is our state's subsidized summer jobs program. Each year, YouthWorks provides subsidized, high-quality summer job opportunities to more than 4,000 youth across the state. Here in Chelsea, Commonwealth Corporation prepared and placed teams at the Chelsea District Courthouse, the Chelsea Housing Authority, and the Lewis Latimer Society and Museum. We also work with ROCA, a community organization that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, on the Safe and Successful Youth Initiative. ROCA, as most of you probably know, focuses on breaking the cycle of incarceration and poverty and helping young people transform their lives. And our role is to provide program management for that program so we can help people who haven't had a shot in life and maybe who have gotten off on the wrong path in life have another shot at an opportunity and preparation and a good job and a hopeful future. So whether you are interested in tapping into the programs we have to benefit your businesses directly, or you are interested in some of the youth-serving work that you do, I encourage you to get to know Commonwealth Corporation. As I'll say it one more time, every year we have millions and millions of dollars available for your businesses to tap into. And to tap into it, to get started, all you have to do is reach out, pick up the phone, send us an email, and find out more information. 2 of my staff members are here, and I'll ask them to stand and raise their hands. Rob Duncan, who runs the Workforce Training Fund, and Kristen Rain, who does marketing for the Workforce Training Fund. They are awesome colleagues, and they are key point people for the administration of the Workforce Training Fund. So if anything of what I've said has resonated with you, if anything, if you if I've talked and you said, oh, maybe I have a need that can be met through the Workforce Training Fund, before you leave, come up to Kristen and Rob and to me. We'll be happy to tell you more. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues. Thank you very much.
I would just encourage you to contact Comcorp, as we call it, I guess, Commonwealth Corp, because it is an amazing program, and lots of businesses take advantage of their programs. And as I've become, it's just something that if you're looking at any kind of training for the employees of your business, you really should make sure that you connect with Comcorp. I'm going to give you a little bit of story. My father was born in 1920, and through the 20s, he was born in Waterville, Maine, and that was during the Great Depression, and so he was put on a train to Boston to live with an aunt in Chelsea. And when he was 8 years old, he lived in the attic of a three-story in Chelsea. And my mom was from Everett, and her mom was a single mom who worked at Lewis Candy, if you remember that name. And my mother and father met when they were 10 and 8 in Chelsea. And so about 10 years later, after the war, my dad was 22, so a little bit later, they corresponded back and forth during the World War II, and they ended up settling in Everett. And my dad was a painter for the Boston, for the railroad company, not making a lot of money, and they were renting from an African-American family, and he was working at the mailroom at the Bank of Boston. And he said to my dad, he said, Don, I think you could make a little bit more money working at the mailroom than painting railroad cars. And so he went to Bank of Boston and ended up working in the mailroom, and then ultimately took his GI Bill and went to Bentley School of Accounting at the time, and ultimately ended up in banking. And I say all that because it's truly what comes of really times of turmoil and uncertainty. People do their best and reach out. And so because of people reaching out in Chelsea to my father and to my mother, and because of their landlord who saw another opportunity for my dad, is the reason why I'm standing here today. And so we're in a very tumultuous world that we live in currently, as we know. But I'd just say one thing, and since it is the day of mourning for George H.W. Bush, back in 1990, he signed the immigration bill, which changed all of immigration. And that was sponsored by Senator Ted Kennedy. It was a bipartisan bill that actually changed really all of our lives that are here today. And so as we look at this room and we look at small businesses in Massachusetts, what Mass Growth Capital actually does is to provide equal access to resources. And what our job is to make sure that everybody has the same ability to be successful in their business. Not that we can make them successful, but we will make sure that you have the ability to access those resources that already exist. So part of why we're here, because we have a relationship with the Chelsea Chamber of Commerce, is because of a program we have which is called the Small Business Technical Assistance Program, which provides money to nonprofits such as the Chelsea Chamber of Commerce that provides business services to their members. And so Allison Maranta here from Mass Growth Capital is the director of that program. And sitting next to her is Nader Acevedo. And Nader and I worked together many years in really trying to make sure that everybody has access to capital. And so in addition to the grant program that we have a loan fund, which is open to all businesses, existing businesses within Massachusetts, that when, for whatever reason, a bank is saying no, we will get involved in trying to get to yes. Now, we typically are looking at working capital, so basically a line of credit. Oftentimes when we're looking for more than that, or we're looking for longer terms, we then go to mass development. But really in hand, what we're trying to do is to make sure that businesses in Massachusetts have every available resource to them to make sure they're successful. And so basically, if you have any kind of issues or you need some kind of help in your small businesses, then that's something that truly you need to contact us. So our website is empoweringsmallbusiness.org. Empoweringsmallbusiness.org. And you will find out the many programs that we have. Just one last thing, and again about George H.W. Bush. You know, he was asked whether English should be a mandatory language for the United States. And what he said was, you know, it's not, English is really important, but it's not a federal mandate. And so when we look at making sure that small businesses have access to resources, sure, primarily it's in English, but we're looking at making sure that all languages can be accessed by small businesses. And one last story, I was last night in Roxbury, and through our small business technical assistance, there was established for the Somali and Ethiopian community, a small business development center right within John Elliott Square in Roxbury. There's about 41 businesses in Roxbury right now that are Somali owned. And when you think about Somali, which has been basically cut off from any kind of immigration, and their families, they're basically cannot immigrate here. And so how that has affected that community, we've invested through the state in making sure that they have the same access to growing their businesses than any other person here in the United States has. Claudia Green is here from English for New Bostonians. We work with Claudia quite a bit as far as making sure that businesses have the ability to learn English and so that they can be more successful. And so we get involved in a lot of different programs. But what we're trying to do at Mass Growth Capital is to make sure that your business is as successful as it can be. Thank you.
Some great stories, Larry.
I got more.
Well, you can come to us and go on. Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Good. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to sit down just to distinguish myself from my colleagues. Yeah. And also because I wear bifocals and it's a little easier to read and speak at the same time. But when I was contacted by Rich Cuthey about speaking this morning, I started to think about the many chamber events that I've attended and all the people I've met here at the Chelsea Chamber over the past several years. Rich asked me, as I'm sure he asked my colleagues to my left, to describe, he asked me to describe what mass development is and does in 5 to 10 minutes. Then I looked at the agenda for the meeting and saw that he had me slotted right after all the other speakers and events, essentially standing between all of you and the rest of your day. Or maybe a little holiday shopping, I don't know what's on your agenda. So I said to myself, what would Jay Ash do? Well, first of all, Jay would probably be the keynote speaker. I'll be thinking about how funny he is when he talks about his years in Chelsea and about how he went to work with the governor because they were the tallest people in the room and could see eye to eye on all the issues. Or maybe you'd hear his comments about the times when having the FBI coming into Chelsea wasn't considered a good thing. Ah, yes, the good old days. I'm thinking that Assistant Secretary Juan Vega is here in the room. This just might get back to the secretary. Of course, Tom's here, the current city manager, and Juan Carlos Morales, our board member from Mass Development, is sitting right here too, and I hope his ears are closed. But, well, Secretary Ash, as we know him nowadays, is not only the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development for the entire state, but he also serves as the chairman of the board at Mass Development. And I'd just like to say that in spite of his height and having a street named after him right outside this building, even though, as we all know, there's a perfectly good Ash Street right down the block of it, we too have seen eye to eye on dozens of projects that Mass Development has been involved with in Chelsea and helped to finance over the past 20 years or so. Back to Rich for a minute. I'm supposed to tell you what Mass Development is and what we do. Mass Development is the state's economic development financing agency. That means we have money to lend for commercial projects and industrial projects that are growing in Chelsea and across the state. Last year, we assisted with the financing of 384 projects in Massachusetts, with more than $4 billion to work in bonds and loans. Our best year ever, and a reflection of the strong economy and the strong leadership of Secretary Ash, our board, and the administration, creating or helping to retain nearly 11,000 jobs in Massachusetts. So who gets the money? If you're involved with creating jobs or apartments, you're on the right track. There are 3 big buckets of customers that we serve, but that continues to expand our reach as well. The first thing you have to know is that we're always about creating and retaining jobs. We do this through our loans, we do it through our bond financing that help to expand or grow manufacturing companies. Chelsea has always been a big place for the food industry to settle, near or in the produce market and close to transportation access. But any manufacturer buying real estate, expanding a building, or purchasing new capital equipment to make their products with should know about Mass Development. We can probably be helpful, and I'm deputizing all of you in the room who know a manufacturer to make sure they know about Mass Development. When I say helpful, I mean we're not going to be the bank, and we're not going to compete with the banks at all. What we do makes the bank's loans better for the company by sometimes helping to lower the interest rate, sometimes extending the terms to loan, and sometimes lending a portion of the project ourselves, or even providing a loan guarantee. If Jay Ash were here, he would probably be more comfortable asking you, how many times have you driven by KM on Spruce Street? Those buildings and the equipment inside, Mass Development worked with their bank to provide low-rate bond financing to help grow their company and create many, many more jobs. Several times we've done that, in fact. And then we might take a ride down 2nd Street to where Rosev's Dairy used to be, but where Night Shift Distributing is now, the craft brewery, remember? Night Shift Distributing is there, and State Gardens is part of that building too. Mass Development worked with that bank to provide better financing for the longer term and better rates than the bank could do on their own. And how about Crescent Ave? New England Lighting, it's another company we helped to expand, and we moved them from a small brick building out on Eastern Ave, just around the corner onto Crescent, where they are today. And again, working with their bank to make a better situation for the company and to help create more jobs in Chelsea. The list goes on, and it includes Signature Breads over on William Street and a brand new facility we just helped to finance on Griffin Way for the new owners of Rosev's Dairy. So you all get that, right? They were on 2nd. They used to be in the produce market when I first went over to 2nd and then over to Griffin Way. The second big bucket for Mass Development financing is any nonprofit organization that is a 501c3. Sorry, Richard.
We have a 501c3 now.
Oh, okay. Let's buy a building. You're a 501c6 if I remember.
Yeah, we now have a chamber foundation.
Yeah. Good. Oh, we like those. The second big bucket is the 501c3 not-for-profit organizations that own real estate and are expanding or adding another site. From the Shore Educational Collaborative Building out on Route 16. Yes, and I heard someone who's here from Shore. Did that many years ago, if you recall. And to the YMCA downtown, to the old post office that is now the Bunker Hill Community College, to the assisted living on Commandant's Way. Yes, we help finance all of the nonprofit bonds. And we can help any hospital, any assisted living facility, any college or private school, charter school, small museums, human service providers are big with us. They can finance their real estate projects through Mass Development's help, and they will save money while working with their regular bank or any bank they choose. When they expand, there are always many more jobs providing the services that the nonprofits are providing. I know that many of you as chamber members serve on those boards or help with the good work of so many of the nonprofits, especially in this area. If you do, please be sure that they're in contact with me or Mass Development or Rich, who can contact us when they're thinking about a capital project. They're probably eligible for our help. And the third bucket of financing at Mass Development is probably the newest and one of the more important. This state needs more housing. We desperately need more affordable housing, and we desperately need more market rate apartments. Mass Development helps provide developers, private developers, community development corporations, and others to build new or to renovate older buildings to create new apartments. Last year, Mass Development helped directly or indirectly in the creation of 830 apartments across the state, and this year we plan to do more. As part of this housing creation, we're also engaged in helping to clean up some of the toughest sites, like the areas on Garish Ave, where the neighborhood developers have built many new apartments in the old Box District area, in part with Mass Development's brownfield cleanup funds, and in part with our bond financing for affordable and market-rate housing. Partnering with Mass Development is an important way to stretch your limited resources and tackle the difficult problems like contamination on a site that can stall new development. Cleanup funds can be available for housing, for not-for-profits, and manufacturers anywhere in Chelsea. And there's one more important thing going on in Chelsea. Rich alluded to this earlier. Mass Development has initiated and is delivering on this. It's called Transformative Development, and it focuses on improving downtown business districts by trying to figure out what's really needed in a very small area, and then on how the city, the businesses, and the residents can come together with a little help from the state and from Mass Development, from Mass Growth Capital Art, and other resources to make positive changes, add housing and other types of businesses that will serve the community and improve the streetscape. Many of you know that we've identified the area already, and we have hired Carlos Matos, who you met a couple of minutes ago, and is here today, to work in this small district with the city and to make recommendations to the city that Mass Development's financing may be able to help improve. When I drive down Broadway from City Hall and see the Tobin Bridge up ahead, I think about Carlos and the work Mass Development's TDI program is doing to improve downtown Chelsea and the business district that is so important to this entire community. So I hope a little time is left for questions, and I thank you for your attention. But if there are details you'd like to discuss privately, please come by and get a card from me or reach out to Rich. He can make an introduction. Don't miss a chance to work with Mass Development. If you are creating jobs, even 1 or 2, 3 or 4, you don't have to be creating 500 jobs. Just a few gets you in the door. Helping with a neighborhood nonprofit organization or adding or thinking about adding apartments in Chelsea or in the neighboring communities. But if it's a really hard problem, you should probably just call Jay Ash. Thanks. Happy holidays.
And yes, there is some time for questions. So does anyone have a question for anyone on our panel?
Okay, we're out here.
That's it. Well, I will say, you don't really have to retain all the details that each of our guests spoke about today. Walk away with the feeling that I went to the Chelsea Chamber's annual meeting luncheon. I heard something that I think can help me. I don't know who it was. As Ken just said, call me. We will direct you to the right place to go, to the right people to talk to you. And I have to say, I even learned something today about Mass Development. Did not know about the 501c3 thing. we'll be talking soon, I imagine. So if there are no questions, you have one, Alberto?
I have one.
Strap in.
I think you did a fabulous job in finding those two gentlemen.
Thank you.
They are
Thank you
resources.
for saying yes.
That's right. They're resources. And I'm the owner, along with my wife. Actually, my wife is the owner. I just tag along. Stop and Compare Supermarket. That's the ad. But a few years ago, I became involved more with the family business, and I went to an event from the state on ComCorp, and applied for a grant for teaching English to our employees, and it was very successful. And I'm thinking of doing that again. The other thing that I'm involved with is in the committee. And help me out here, Carlos.
Yes.
There's a committee has been formed, and Joe Bernard is part of the committee, right? And we're working downtown in this initiative that Carlos is spearheading along with the city. Mimi Graney, not here. City manager, sorry. I think that's a very important project. He only has 2 years. So we're working with the help of the chamber board to make this happen. To our vision, and maybe it's not shared yet, but our vision is to establish a business resource center right in smack the middle of Broadway where the chamber sits, so that all these business owners can come for help, resources, what have you. Mass Growth Capital Corporation, so that's, I'm just advertising that because I don't know if you talk about that. I'm just saying that it takes everyone in this room to participate. Thank you. Oh, was that a question? Oh, there's a seat over there.
You know, Alberto, I have to say, I've been standing in the back, kind of checking the time. How are our panelists doing?
Yeah.
They have done so remarkably well.
Nice. I screwed that.
We're still in good shape. We're still in good shape.
Well, maybe that spurs some question about this committee, who wants to participate. No.
I'll tell you what, as we wrap up, if the gentleman would exit slowly, if anyone has any individual questions they want to ask, get a card, anything like that. So if there's no public Q&A, I think it's time to wrap up. And usually at this time, we have a tradition of presenting our speaker, usually there's only one, with a Chelsea clock as a thank you. And instead of presenting you with that, I am presenting you with our apologies for not having them ready. This is the Chamber's third major event in the last 6 days. Last Thursday, we had the annual holiday tree lighting in Chelsea Square, over 500 people. Just on Saturday, we had a breakfast with Santa, where we fed over 400 children and their families, and then we have this. Plus our engraver is busy with Christmas orders, and we couldn't get them in time, but we will forward them along to you with our thanks. And
so, Rich, does that mean we have to come back? Is that?
No. Only
so we can't come back?
You know what, Larry? It depends when we get your sponsorship check. If we already had the check, I'll put it in the mail. But thank you, gentlemen, and everybody. Thank you. Happy holidays.